No matter where you are, what time you're listening, welcome. It is a big week for America. It's the end of a huge month and a huge 5 months for America. June 2025 is going to be long remembered as an extraordinary month for America because Donald Trump rebuilt American deterrence with one 36-hour round trip flight from Missouri by the B 2s. He's bringing peace to the Middle East. Markets have hit all-time highs, and it looks like the one big beautiful bill is going to get over the finish line. We don't know that for sure. We could be disappointed. The voting in the vote-a-rama, which is one of those unique Senate traditions, preceding the adoption of a reconciliation bill. It's an opportunity for any member of the Senate, unlimited number of amendments. Democrats will offer an unlimited number of amendments on things that will not pass, and then they'll come down to the final vote, and Republicans are going to lose too. Although I'm hoping Senator Tillis is a good man who's passionate about Medicaid, but I don't think he's passionate about a crippling tax hike or having his last act in a distinguished 12-year career be having a massive tax hike hit all Americans. And so I'm hoping Senator Tillis made his point, tried to negotiate what he wanted. We know we're going to lose. Rand Paul, he doesn't vote for anything with a debt limit in it. Sort of a weird counterfactual belief in why he's there, but he's held it for a long time. So they've lost two. They can lose three and still get the bill over and to the House, and then it will be an uphill climb, but hopefully the House will realize this is the best that can be done with the first reconciliation bill. They can have at least one more and possibly two more where they only need simple majorities, and they go back and fix stuff or add stuff, maybe take on some of the worst entitlement reforms that need to be done. But right now, the most important thing for the economy, the absolute most important thing, is to get the tax certainty that comes with the one big beautiful bill, making the tax cuts of 2017 permanent and indeed expanding them. It's vital. Now, on top of America's fabulous 5 months reasserting itself on the world stage, whether it's hitting Tehran's nuclear program, bringing a ceasefire in the Israel-Iran war, helping Israel ward off its enemies, win a decisive victory in Lebanon, win a decisive victory in Gaza, bring peace to the region. Looks like there's stuff going on with Syria, not a full-blown join the Abraham Accords, but it looks like Syria might be about to sign a significant deal with Israel. Well, again, American leadership means strength. The strong horse matters. And Donald Trump is leading from strength all over the place. So I'm going to do something unusual. I'm going to check the markets early today just to see how they look. Our market check is always brought to you by AmericanFederal.com. They are our gold buyers and sellers. If you want to buy gold, if you want to sell gold, if you want to buy silver, you want to sell silver, platinum, or any special metal, you want to do it a little bit, ounces, quarter ounces, 5 ounces, 10 ounces, or you want gold bars, you want to do $1,000 deal, or you want to do $1 million deal, Nick Grovich and his team can get it done. Their phone number is 800-221-7694. Their website is AmericanFederal.com. A lot of people are diversifying, and because markets are at all-time high under Donald Trump, and they're going to get higher, I think. I'm not a prophet nor the son of a prophet, but if they pass this tax bill, I just think companies are going to prosper like Trump won until COVID came along. At this hour, gold is at $3,311. It's up by 0.71%. The Dow is up at this hour by a third of a point. The S&P is up by 0.17. The NASDAQ up by about a tenth of a percent. Everybody is winning, but everybody will win more if the one big beautiful bill passes. And certainty comes to the tax code. Expense write-off comes to the tax code. Relief for small businesses comes to the tax. We're all living under a sword of Damocles right now where the tax code reverts to where it was in 2016. It will crush the economy. So I really don't understand why people are not lining up to vote for this. But there are some Republicans who want to use a little leverage, and I get it. They want a little bit here, a little bit there. I understand it. That's what log rolling is, but now it's push come to shove time to vote for the bill. If you didn't get what your way, get in line, maybe take an IOU for the next reconciliation bill. Same in the House. Maybe start negotiating it right away. But Let's get this over the line. Big win for America. Meanwhile, I have one ask for you. I'm going to make this ask every day and every hour for this week, right up to July 4th. I got 89,000 followers on my YouTube channel, which is great. It's a small percentage of my millions of listeners, because listeners are not necessarily YouTube consumers. You might be driving your car, you might be watching on the Salem News Channel. I don't know if you're on with our new affiliates, one of our old affiliates. We got 12 affiliates that are original affiliates. Go back to July 10 of the year 2000 when the Hugh Hewitt Show launched. And we've got people who just showed up yesterday. I believe we started in Asheville, North Carolina today. Welcome, Asheville, if that's in fact true. Might be next week. Not quite sure, but welcome if it's you. Whether it's Westchester County or we added Port St. Lucie in Florida, we're always adding affiliates, and we love them all. But what I want you to know is even if you never use YouTube, will you please go over and find the Hugh Hewitt YouTube channel. It's pretty easy. You just Google Hugh Hewitt YouTube and like and subscribe it. I'd like to get to 100,000 by the end of July of this month. And I'd like to even get there this week if I could, by July 4th. Don't think that's possible. That would be 11,000 of you getting off of your rear ends and going and looking for something. And you might not even love YouTube. Some of you love it because I only put 2 or 3 things on there a day and they pop up. It's usually an interview like Senator Cotton coming up today. I'll talk to him about how it looks for the One Big Beautiful Bill and how it looks for the battle damage assessment on Iran after we've had a good week to look at the smoke and the embers. We'll get that all done. But I really would like you to do that. Many of you are my 250,000 people who follow me on X, and I appreciate that. I'd like more of you on X. But I'd really love you on YouTube because it does explode the algorithm. And that means the good stuff that gets said here by the newsmakers who come here, then they all show up on everybody's YouTube feed who's subscribed, and it goes out further and further and further. So we want to change the country, and we are urgently in that project right now, not just for our sponsors like AmericanFederal.com. And remember, if you're going to buy gold today, do it with Nick Grovich and his team. 1-800-221-7694, because the Democrats have lost their mind. I spent most of the weekend reading up on Mr. Mamdani, the assemblyman from New York who won the Democratic nominee. He's an anti-Semite, in my opinion. He's just an anti-Semite. Certainly an anti-Zionist, he admits to that. He is wildly radical, and that's the Democratic Party of the future. So we're really at a fork in the road here. Democrats are going way left. The Republicans are taking the center. I like that. I like going to the center. And I really want to compliment everyone for supporting everyone on our side of the spectrum. Right? We play between the goal lines. Some people like to play on the 10-yard line and to the goal line. I don't. I play between the 40s. I want to get everyone between the 40s. I want to build the party. I want a long-lasting majority for the Republicans so the country can grow again and be a 4% growth country again, grow our way out of our deficit and our debt problems. I want to have a strong military to deter our enemies the way that B-2, Donald Trump rebuilt deterrence in one night, 36 hours, day and a half. Rebuilt the American deterrence and had been shattered by the Afghanistan collapse that Joe Biden presided over and the incoherence of an enfeebled and infirm president. Donald Trump has gotten that all gone. All we need to do now is follow with the tax code, follow with the defense buildup, secure the border with the investments in there, secure energy domination, which is part of the One Big Beautiful Bill. So come on, senators, get with it. Let me also tell you, we have another sponsor, Americans for a Balanced Budget. And Americans for a Balanced Budget are concerned about health care credits, not in the One Big Beautiful Bill. They're worried about your health care premiums in the next round. The One Big Beautiful Bill makes the 2017 tax cuts permanent. That's good, but it does not address the tax credits which make health insurance premiums low for working Americans. Pollster John McLaughlin says once the Big Beautiful Bill is passed, voters he just polled say they want premiums made affordable. Must be the priority. Next up on the list of things to get done. Listen to John McLaughlin.
They're going to have to address the tax credit on the healthcare as an issue because those tax credits are not part of this bill. After we get the Trump tax cuts made permanent, let's take a look at the health insurance marketplace and make sure that people that work for a living that need healthcare can still get it, and they can still get it at an affordable price. We encourage them to do this and on their own in the marketplace without the government having to get more involved in the healthcare system.
Americans for a Balanced Budget agrees with that. They're a sponsor of our show. We're a sponsor of making healthcare affordable and ubiquitous and everywhere anyone who's working able to get it. So head to stophealthcosthikes.com. That's stophealthcosthikes.com. Stophealthcosthike.com. So it's singular cost, plural hikes. Stophealthcosthikes.com. When you go there, get involved in the next big piece of legislation that the GOP has to turn to after the one big, beautiful bill. Olivia Beavers is the congressional reporter for the Wall Street Journal. On a day where all eyes are on the United States Senate, it is one of their legendary vote-a-ramas. And so, Olivia, why don't we begin by telling people what a vote-a-rama is and how does one cover it if you're the Wall Street Journal's congressional reporter?
Well, so a vote-a-rama or vote-a-thon is sort of a nickname for when there are just vote after vote of amendments on a major policy bill that the Senate is going through. And so last night, we weren't even sure what time the vote-a-rama went because this is the opportunity that Democrats have to put forward amendments that they think could squeeze the Republican Party come re-election time. Or if there is dissent within the GOP, they can try to push amendments that would advance the bill in the direction that they want, whether it's on Medicaid, whether it's on spending cuts, and all of that. So that's what is unfolding right now. Last night, we didn't even know if it was going to be starting around 1 or 2 a.m., which, if you're covering that, it looks a little bit different. But luckily, it started at 9 a.m. So I have two colleagues who are covering the floor, and we're going to be taking it in shifts. So some are monitoring, every amendment that's offered, who is talking to whom on the floor. There's a lot of holdouts right now who have not committed to voting for the bill. So those senators are being really closely watched, both to see if they get amendments that they want, if their amendment is voted down. And this is sort of the final pieces being laid to figure out what the final Senate bill might look like, unless they do some sort of procedural wraparound approach that would just change what happens in all the amendment making right now.
So my question is, what time do we expect it to end, Olivia?
We have no clue. I think each amendment vote is taking around 20 minutes, and we're only on 9, and there's a lot more to come. So it's just we're expecting a long process. They might speed it up. You never really know when these end. Sometimes there are moments of defiance where, people try to push it to take as long as it can, and it might end up being late at night. So it's really hard to say exactly what time. It's not near being done at the moment.
Olivia, I know that the Republicans are trying to hold back on amendments to only those very few that are substantive in the eyes of the members. But will they throw in a couple of spanners for fun, such as a resolution condemning Zohran Mamdani's refusal to condemn globalize the Intifada? Will they do anything like that, or is that ruled out of order by the parliamentarian?
Not that I have heard. I haven't heard any sort of, you know, chatter about that. And I think right now the focus is getting the bill to the president. The House is gearing up to potentially have a rules committee on Tuesday and then possible vote Monday. And they're still trying to make the July 4th deadline, which the White House has been hammering. So I'd be kind of surprised if it got a little bit off message. That's not to say that they wouldn't get to that kind of going after Mamdani, and we've seen Republicans going after him already. But I think right now the focus is trying to get enough votes on this bill. You have, you know, Lisa Murkowski, who is arguing that the bill will hurt her state. So they're trying to add these Alaska focused sweeteners in the bill. You have Ron Johnson, Mike Lee, conservatives who are concerned there's not enough spending cuts. So they're trying to go after, basically a formula that allows that determines how much the federal government pays of Medicaid per state. And so there's a lot that the party itself is ironing out right now. And senators like Ron Johnson are saying they're not even sure they're going to vote for it, depending on what happens to their amendments. So 4 senators can kill this bill in the Senate.
Yeah. Now, Olivia, I've been watching the markets this morning and this afternoon. Right now, the Dow, the S&P, and the Nasdaq are all going up, 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 and they've gone up since the beginning of the program 20 minutes ago, which tells me they are optimistic about the
It's,
bill. And
or is
Wall
that
Street
a sign you're having
typically
a good
has.
show?
That it could be that too. I will admit it could be just be a good show, but I think it does mean generally they're looking forward to the 100% write off, to the continuation, the making permanent of the Trump tax cuts, and so I don't think it's going to fail. But the question to me is not so much the Senate. Do they take the same bill and send it to a vote in the House? Stat, is that the plan?
I think we're still trying to figure it out. The House GOP leaders are trying to push the Senate to do sort of a process that would bring the bill into more of a direction of what they want. There seems to be a lot of disgruntled House members. So if the Senate bill looks anything like the text that they put out and it's sent over to the House, you have two angry camps who were able to come together in the House version of the bill, which the Senate has now changed. You have the centrists who are concerned about more severe changes to Medicaid in their minds and to the clean energy tax credits. And then you have conservatives who don't like the ratio of tax cuts to spending cuts that they were originally promised. So you see the Freedom Caucus putting out statement after statement, attacking the Senate version of the bill, saying it's getting uglier and uglier. And so right now, that it, like you just highlighted, it is a big question mark of what the House is going to first get from the Senate and then what they're going to do with what they get from the Senate. So that is where you will be seeing me looking exhausted covering it, because this is just a really intense marathon sprint just to get it over to
Well, last question: is the closer in chief, also known as Donald Trump, working the phones already, or is he in reserve?
He is. And so there was a procedural vote on Sunday into early hours, pre-dawn hours on Monday. And the president was making phone calls. Vice President Vance was working his old colleagues in the Senate. And they were able to make some sort of agreements with different senators to get them to back just the procedural vote to advance it. So I think a lot of Republicans I talked to fully expect him to be active to get this bill across the finish line. And they think he'll really show his strength calling the House, which is way more populist, less politically insulated. And he can just go after members to really get in line.
I hope you are right. Olivia Beavers, follow her on X at Olivia_Beavers, reader in the Wall Street Journal. Thank you, Olivia. Hopefully this time next week we're talking about what comes next after the one big beautiful bill. Thank you, Olivia Beavers. Don't forget, we are in the Relief Factor studio. I take my Relief Factor every day at this time. It wasn't the most active of weekends, but I'm about 95% back now. So I got a couple of miles in, but not my typical 10K. Nevertheless, taking it every day, because Relief Factor keeps the aches and pains away. We were at a picnic last night. A friend of mine knows that I've been pulled the back out 10 days ago now. And he said, how you feeling? I said, Relief Factor works. And he laughed. I said, no, it really does work. It does work. And it works for minor aches and pains, and it works for people who do stupid things because they lift the boxes the wrong way, or they do the dreaded overhead bin and they throw something, whatever it is that made you feel less than great for a Monday. Consider Relief Factor. Call 1-800, the number 4 and the word relief, 1-800, the number 4 and the word relief, or go to their website, find the starter pack for $19.95. Relief Factors, that's right, 3-week starter pack. Try it for yourself like tens of thousands of Americans do, like I have for more than 10 years, only supplement I've taken for more than 20. ReliefFactor.com. Find the starter pack for $19.95 at ReliefFactor.com. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Thank you for listening. If you're listening in your car to one of our great affiliates, or in your house to one of our great affiliates across the United States on the radio, thank you for watching. If you're watching the Salem News Channel across the United States on Pluto and every other kind of Roku, whatever place you can find Salem News Channel, please do. I want to play a clip of President Trump with Maria Bartiromo yesterday because it communicates what I think about the first half of 2025. This is cut number 8.
Mr. President, you were just coming off of one of the most consequential weeks anybody has ever seen, from striking Iran to going to NATO, to announcing 2 deals, and then this Supreme Court victory. Have you been able to digest what has occurred in the last 7 days?
Not really. It was pretty wild period of time, and I really think in 6 months we've taken the country and turned it around. I was told by the King of Saudi Arabia, by the leader of Qatar and the leader of UAE when we went over there, we brought back $5.1 trillion investment into the United States. They said, you know, you're presiding now over the hottest country in the world, and a year ago we thought your country was dead. It could never come back. It was so incompetently run by a very bad president. And I said, you're right, this country is hot. And that was a couple of months ago. You know, now we're talking about what we've done recently. So the country is really going. The numbers are great. I watch you in the mornings, and you're giving those numbers, and they're really good. No inflation. We have a bad Fed chairman, but other than that, we have, great. It doesn't even matter. The numbers are so good, it doesn't matter that he keeps the rates artificially high. But it's been an amazing period of time.
It has been an amazing 6 months, and the most consequential first 6 months since Reagan's first 6 months. He was shot. He did come back, got the big tax cuts, got going. Nothing like it. Bush got tax cuts as well, but nothing this deep. He also didn't strike Iran. He didn't rebuild American credibility. It was there. He had to rebuild it after 9/11, and he did. But I just got to say, one of the most significant weeks of this century and the last has just played out. One of the most significant months. There's one area that's dragging, and it's home building, and it's home buying. We have a great sponsor at this show, andrewandtodd.com. They are with Sierra Pacific Mortgage, 888-888-1172. I keep my eye on the 10-year Treasury because of andrewandtodd.com. They do loans all over the country. All right, they do loans all over the country. And if you're about to try and buy a house or you've got to move, you want to call Andrew and Todd at 888-888-1172. But the one thing they're always looking at is the 10-year Treasury. What's the rate on the 10-year Treasury? Because typically you add 2 to 2.5 points to that, and you'll find out what the rate is on a 30-year fixed for an average borrower with pretty good credit. Right now, the 10-year Treasury dropped to 4.226. It is too high. It is too high because the Fed is being very slow to reduce the prime. And the reason they are slow is that they don't want the Biden inflation to roar back, because that destroyed so many people's ability to make ends meet. So they are being very slow. But the president is right. They've got to put reality into their calculation, because they're keeping a lot of Americans from moving and moving up. But here's the deal with andrewandtodd.com. Go get the loan right now in the sixes. Buy your home, whatever your home is. They'll tell you what you can afford. And then refi when they drop, because when they start to drop, they're going to drop like a rock until they hit about 3 to 3.5%. I don't think they're going to go back to the twos like they did during the Trump one. I just don't think we're ever going to get the perfect world again. But they will get down into the fours and then into the threes, and andrewandtodd.com will refinance you. If you're a veteran, you don't want to put anything down, they'll do the loan. First-time home buyer, they'll do the loan. If you're a senior citizen, you want a reverse mortgage, you get money out of your house, that's complicated, but andrewandtodd.com will take the time. I've known Andrew Del Rey for 25 plus years. I've known Todd Abakian for half as long as I've known Andrew. They're good, dear friends, and I want to recommend to you. Call them, 888-888-1172. Another friend of mine, we're getting ready for the 4th of July, so I want to tell you about besthotgrill.com. Because if you act now, you might be able to get it in time for the 4th of July barbecue fest. Best barbecue made in America. The Solaire Infrared Grill. All you have to do is go to besthotgrill.com, and you'll find the Solaire Infrared Grill. And you can try it before you buy it. You can get it for yourself. You can get it for your friend. You can get it for your dad, your uncle, your friend who's getting married. It's the best wedding present going. You can get them small. You can get them large. You can try it before you buy it. Perfect for tailgating, perfect for the permanent grill on the back porch, perfect for any size or need. It goes from 0 to 1,000 with amazing American-made quality, amazing American-made results, the best steaks, the crispiest chicken, the most succulent fish. Whatever you want to grill, you'll grill better on besthotgrill.com. Tell Rhett and Irene I told you to go there. Go to besthotgrill.com. You will love it, and you'll thank me. Standing by for Dr. Michael Oren, former ambassador to the United States from Israel. Dr. Oren joins me once a week, and this is a big day in the Middle East, or it appears to be at least, as Syria edges towards some sort of an agreement with Israel. We'll find out from Ambassador Oren whether or not that's just buzz and rumors in just a moment once we reconnect with him. In the meantime, let me tell all of you, I've made the switch to Consumer Cellular. I think you ought to do so as well. You can call them right now at 1-800-411-4454. You can go to consumercellular.com/Hugh. You don't need to pay more than you need to pay. Do you even have any idea what you're paying for your cell phone? If you don't, please go and find the bill. Maybe you do automatic pay and it's online, you don't know how to find it. Maybe you have to go and actually dig out a receipt from somewhere and underscore what you're paying. But you don't have to sacrifice service for savings. You can have both savings and service by moving to Consumer Cellular. And you can find the plan that meets your data needs. Some of you need unlimited data, I do. But most of you are over 50 do not need an unlimited data plan. Now, if you do, you can get 2 lines of unlimited data for $60 a month from Consumer Cellular. That's a heck of a deal. 2 lines, unlimited data. You can keep your old phone, keep your old number, keep your old data and contacts, everything, or you can get everything new. Start over. Or you can get a second line like I did because you've got the line that you use for work and then you want a line for family. Doesn't matter. Whatever your cell phone needs are, don't do it with one of the big cell offerers. Go and do it with Consumer Cellular. Moreover, if you use my code HUGH25, and remember that's my code HUGH25, you'll save $5 a month off your first 5 invoices. $25 saving on top of what you're going to save just by moving to a more efficient cell plan. Maybe you only need 5 gigs of data. Maybe you only need 10 gigs of data, but maybe you need unlimited data. Talk to the Consumer Cellular people, and I make you a promise. When you call them, you'll hit one button. They'll give you a menu of options. You'll hit one button. You'll be talking to a real live American or someone in America. All I can tell you is that their service centers are in America, and that is a huge selling point because people want to go through the specifics. They want to talk it through. That's what Consumer Cellular will do for you. 1-800-411-4454. HUGH25 is your code. 1-800-411-4454. Or simply go to consumercellular.com/Hugh. consumercellular.com/Hugh. While we wait for Dr. Oren to reconnect, I do want to tell you what Donald Trump told Maria Bartiromo about Iran and the strikes and the fake news that's out there. Cut number 1.
I saw reports that there were 400 kilograms, 800 pounds that they moved, but I wonder if it's traceable. I mean, if they were to have moved,
They didn't move anything.
They didn't move anything.
You know what they moved themselves? They were all trying to live. They didn't move anything. They didn't think it was going to be actually doable, what we did. And what we did was amazing. And they, we went, there are energy commissions that went there now. No, it's just thousands of tons of rock in that room right now. That room, the whole place was just destroyed. And the other 2 also. Now, Israel was able to do damage, but we did the final damage. And we have the greatest submarines in the world. We launched 30 rockets from submarines. Every single one of them hit their target.
It's amazing what we did, and it was the rebuilding of American deterrence in a blink. Turns out we're going to get Ambassador Oren at the start of next hour as we work on our tech problem. In the meantime, I want to talk about what prompted Donald Trump to act last week. Cut number 2.
We knew they had a lot of sites, probably 3 plus the 1, but they had 3 main sites, and we knew they're going to have to either give them up. And I thought we could do it during negotiation, and we just about had it done. And then they said, we want enrichment. Enrichment doesn't mean like air conditioning, and it doesn't mean to jack up your car. Enrichment is a bad word. And I said, you got so much oil, what do you need that for? And they said, well, we need it. And I wouldn't let that happen. I think people wouldn't have understood it if I allowed that to happen. So we had a 60-day talk, and that delayed them a lot. And then we said, let's go at it. And it just worked out. And we wanted to work out also for Iran. They were beaten up, and so was Israel. In all fairness, they were both very tight. We call it the 12-day war. That was an intensive war. But the thing that I wanted to do, and I've said it on your show, if you look back 30 years ago or 25 years, we've been doing your show a long time and nobody like you. But you look back at the early interviews, I would say Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. They've wanted this for years, and they were weeks away from getting it. And those pilots went in there with those beautiful planes and the most sophisticated bombs anywhere in the world. Think of it, they can go 30 stories deep into granite. Who would think it's even possible? And they did obliterate it, it turned out. Then we had to suffer the fake news, where the fake news in CNN and the New York Times was saying, well, maybe it wasn't as good as Trump said. Maybe it wasn't totally obliterated, but it was destroyed, but not just horrible. And I could see it happening. And they tried to build that into a story. And then it turned out, no, it was obliterated like nobody's ever seen before. And that meant the end to their nuclear ambition.
And for the time being, they might come back. If they come back, I think Donald Trump will hit him again. He's got credibility. He said about the Intel the leakers, cut number 3.
You tweeted the Democrats leaked an intelligence.
They should be prosecuted.
Who specifically? Do we know who did it? Will you be able to find out?
They could find out. If they wanted, they could find out easily. You go up and tell the reporter, national security, who gave it. You have to do that. And I suspect we'll be doing things like that.
I applaud him on that, and then I want to play what he said about the Abraham Accords, cut number 5.
Has any other country suggested to you recently, as a result of this, that they want to join the Abraham Accords?
Yes. So we have some really great countries in there right now, and I think we're going to start loading them up because Iran was the primary problem. I actually thought Iran would. I actually thought we had a period of time where I thought Iran would join the Abraham Accords along with everybody else. And frankly, they would have been better off than where they are right now.
And what about the Abraham Accords? Would Syria enter?
Well, I don't know. But, I did take off the sanctions at the request of some of the other countries in the area that are friends of ours. I took off the sanctions on Syria to give them a chance at, the sanctions are biting. They're very strong. And we have sanctions on Iran, too. And, you take them off when I sort of gave the expression today, you get more sometimes with honey than you do with vinegar.
And he's talking to Iran there. But Iran is not listening, and they're not getting any sanctions relief. Way to go, Donald Trump. Again, a great month of June. This is the last day of June. When we come back, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more. Don't forget, head over to my YouTube channel. Like and subscribe, please. Like and subscribe. I'm making it my June and July promise to try and get to 100,000 of you. So I'd appreciate it if you do it during the break. That music is the intro music to Dwayne's World, a fine podcast that never, ever, ever gives a plug for liking, subscribing to my podcast.
That is categorically untrue.
I would love it if it someday you just
Fake
say on
news.
Dwayne's World.
Fake
It's great
news.
to listen to the Hugh Hewitt Show, but why don't you like and subscribe his YouTube channel? Because that's what I really want out of Dwayne's World. Generalissimo,
Yes.
I know you're a Disney fan. I want to call your attention. If anyone goes to my X account, they can read this. A father jumped overboard off of a Disney cruise ship when his 5-year-old daughter fell from the 4th deck into the ocean. They got both the dad and the girl back. I'm just beginning to wonder about Disney. I know you're a Disney fan. I'm just a little worried about their cruise ships.
I haven't actually been on one of their cruise ships.
Well, this is the picture. This is the video of them turning it around and going to find him. And I'm just thinking, I'm glad that the dad was on the myphdweightloss.com program. Or so I would assume, because he was svelte.
Well, he was spry.
He was spry and svelte.
Yes.
And myphdweightloss.com is a sponsor of our show, 864
644
1900. That's
864
644
1900.
They're
Now-
going away for the summer because they realize people don't like to diet in the summer, and they'll be back in the fall. But before they go, let's give them a send-off, Dwayne. You lost 50 pounds using My PhD Weight Loss. Before there was a fat shot, before there was any pill, you did it the old-fashioned way with discipline and counseling.
Absolutely. And that was at a period of time when I lost the weight, when I had such a bonkers work schedule that it took a little creativity by my PhD weight loss staff to come up with some kind of a meal plan that would work for the overnight hours that we were having to work.
I thought I did everything to support you in that. I think I actually get credit for
You
45
pretty
of those
much
50
did
pounds.
everything you could to throw a hammer at me.
No, that's not true. I was 100% supportive because we
Oh,
love my
yes.
PhD weightloss.com. And I met some people on the Hillsdale cruise that were using it.
Of that we do
864
agree. 644
1900. That's
864
644.
1900.
So I'm just wondering, are you doing a Dwayne's World today or tomorrow?
We're doing a Dwayne's World tomorrow, and then we're going to have a special show, a music show with Lilacs on Friday, and then I'm off all next week.
So what I would like is, you're taking a week off?
I am. Alaska cruise. This has been on the calendar for a while.
No one ever tells me anything. But in the meantime, will you at least put on the Dwayne's World, like and subscribe to Hugh Hewitt's YouTube channel,
Sure.
please? Just do that. One thing for me.
Do you like and subscribe to Dwayne's World stuff?
Yes, I've already did that. I did that on the first day. I'm always constantly promoting Dwayne's World.
Okay, fair enough.
So you're gone on an Alaska cruise next week?
Yeah.
Don't try and feed the bears.
I don't intend to
Yeah,
get
just
that close to the bear.
don't smell like salmon either.
Every day I wake up with the goal of not smelling like fish.
That's what I'm just saying. Don't smell like salmon if you're going to Alaska. It's a great cruise, but you don't want to smell like salmon if you're going on any excursion.
Paul Giamatti problem.
Breaking news just 17 minutes ago, an Israeli source says Prime Minister Netanyahu will be visiting the White House and President Trump a week from today. Joining me to talk about that prospect as well as the imminence of an accord with Syria maybe and the bomb damage or battle damage assessment of his, Dr. Michael Oren, former Israeli ambassador to the UN, former deputy prime minister of the state of Israel, and probably the most ubiquitous commentator for the last 30 years on all things Israel, and we're glad to have him here. Dr. Oren, can I start with Syria? What is the deal on a deal with Syria?
Okay, the deal with Syria is you have a Syrian government, the Ashara government, which is trying to establish itself and trying to integrate with the region. It's an enemy of Iran, and the enemy is your enemy in the Middle East. The enemy is your friend. So we are friends now with Syria. Israeli army is occupying part of southern Syria. It's the buffer zone that was granted to Syria by Dr. Kissinger and actually Gerald Ford in 1974. And I think that would be on the negotiating table. The question is, would the Golan Heights be on the negotiating table? Certainly every time we've negotiated with Syria in the past, and there have been several attempts to reach peace with Syria, the Golan Heights has been on the table. As a person who has promoted very rapid Israeli settlement of the Golan Heights, unfortunately I haven't really succeeded so far. My big fear is that the Golan Heights would remain on the with the negotiating table, and I would hope now that President Trump has recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights that it would not be up for grabs. It's an interesting prospect. Syria was created by the French to serve French interests. After the French left in the 1940s, Syria was always held together by a preponderance of brutal central power. That's what the Assads did for 5 decades. And it's yet to be seen whether this particular government will be able to exert that type of brutal central power that will hold Syria together, because it's a conglomerate of many tribes, many ethnicities, different, religions, many different religions, and what holds it together. One of the ways it can be held together is through American investment. The UN has estimated the cost of rebuilding Syria after the civil war as upwards of $30 billion. And I'm sure somebody I know who's keen on real estate would love to get involved in rebuilding Syria. It'd be good. So prospects, I think, are real. It all depends, and I cannot stress this, it all depends on what happens with Iran.
Well, let's talk a little bit now on your own personal BDA, whether that means battle damage assessment or bomb damage assessment. I've read and listened to everything I can. What does Dr. Michael Oren think after a week of absorbing all the information that's available and probably some that isn't publicly available?
Well, I'm asked by this on virtually every interview. And, it wasn't obliterated. It was Fordo and the other facilities obliterated, as Donald Trump has claimed, or was it only extensive damage? Has the Iranian nuclear program been set back 6 months, 1 year, 3 weeks? You get it all. And the bottom line, Hugh, is that it's all irrelevant. It's a moot point. Whether it's obliterated or partially damaged or extensively damaged or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it doesn't matter. Only 2 things matter. One is Iran's motivation. Does Iran intend to rebuild? Period. And the next question is, if so, what does President Trump intend to do about it? And if Donald Trump keeps a credible military threat on the table, it could be an American military threat, it can be an Israeli-American military threat, it can be an Israeli military threat, as long as it's credible and on the table. And the Iranians know if they start putting a brick back on a brick at Fordo, then they will be punished, and be punished very hard. That is what will enable Syria to retain its independence, to retain Lebanon to retain its independence, and both countries will be free to enter the Abraham Accords.
So, Mr. Ambassador, in terms of the likelihood of another strike, you think it's contingent upon Iran's good behavior, but if they verge again into bad behavior, we've broken the previously unbroken chain of non-action against Iran, and so it will be more easily broken a second time?
I guarantee they're going to attempt it. Of course, they're going to attempt it, and you're going to see it in a couple of days. And they, unless you establish what a violation is, unless you clarify, unequivocally to the Iranians that brick on a brick at Fordo will elicit a powerful American or Israeli American or an Israeli military response, they will try it. And why wouldn't they? From an Iranian perspective, things may look very different. Yes, this is one of the great military victories in history. They'll be studying it at West Point for the next 50 to 100 years, I guarantee you. There's been nothing like it. And yet, Iranians may view it differently. As far as they're concerned, they held up against the world's largest superpower for 12 days. They inflicted prohibitive damage on Israel. They learned our weak point. And at the end of it, the Iranians fired a couple of missiles at Qatar, and America sued for a ceasefire. Even got Israel actually enforced a ceasefire on Israel. So from an Iranian perspective, this could look differently. And I would bet my boots that there's people in Tehran said, okay, well, let's start building. And we can do it quietly at first. We can wait Donald Trump out. 3 years is nothing. They think in terms of decades and centuries. We can wait them out. And so there has to be a strong agreement between Israel and the United States about what constitutes a violation. And if violations do occur, what will be the U.S./Israeli response?
Now, Dr. Oren, you've been around diplomacy for a long time. You know the way that the Middle East thinks as well. They neither could defend themselves nor could they play. They killed 38 Israelis, and that's a bad thing. And they did some damage to the Haifa refinery and destroyed some buildings. But that was it. After all these years of saber rattling and posturing and death to the little Satan, death to the big Satan, they could not defend against one strike. They couldn't bring down one airplane. Doesn't that have a profound impact on their psyche?
One would think. One would think. And yet they can spin it in different ways. This is a country that held out for 8 years during attacks by Iraq and paid just incalculable prices for it. And so they may conclude that, hey, we weathered this. We're tough. We can play rope-a-dope with these people. You understand what that means. I understand what that means. And they'll try to see how far they can get. Now, they could turn around and say, well, President Trump has offered us $30 billion for reconstruction. We could accept that. We could maybe get into some type of regional architecture for peaceful nuclear energy production. But behind the scenes, we're going to keep rebuilding our Islamic empire because that's who they are. This is in their DNA. And there's no amount of, I think, even threat or incentive is going to change exactly who they are. We made similar mistakes. We made some mistakes with Hamas. We thought that by paying them off and letting Palestinian workers into Israel, that they would be quiescent to become a quiet, nice neighbor. It wasn't the case because this is in Hamas's DNA. So the only true way we can keep that DNA, this is going to be mixing metaphors, DNA in a bottle, is by putting the cork on it. And that cork is a military cork.
Well, let me turn to Gaza then in the 2.5 minutes we've got. It seems to me that the Hamas remnant has no resupply nor prospect of resupply. Do you think there is a deal in the future with them that gets them out before they wither away and also gets the Israeli hostages out?
Well, they won't wither away. They'll always have some type of military capabilities. And they've been recruiting young people like there's no tomorrow. And they may have as many as 30,000 people under arms, but they also may be under 15. Listen, Israel's hand has been greatly strengthened here. Netanyahu's hand has been greatly strengthened here. America's hand has been greatly strengthened here. And Hamas's hand has been commensurately weakened. So I think those conditions would augur well for a deal. We're still left with the question of what the deal looks like. And the deal that would be acceptable to Israel, which be a prolonged ceasefire, a release of the hostages, and at the end of the ceasefire, Israel would have the option of renewing the fight against Hamas. Hamas one has not agreed to that. As far as I know, they are not agreeing to that, which means under that, Hamas would simply give up its assets. The hostages are assets, and it would face annihilation at the hands of the IDF. Therefore, Hamas wants a permanent ceasefire, and a ceasefire that is embedded in and guaranteed by a decision of the Security Council that would tie Israel's hand. And Israel's not going to agree to that. Now, diplomatically, maybe you can fudge this and say that it'll be a ceasefire and there'll be negotiations over a permanent ceasefire. In which case you will probably get some of the hostages back, but not of the other bats. That's what Steve Witkoff was working on before the 12-day Iran war, something like that. It is possible. But it is also possible that Israel will continue to move the population of Gaza into the southern part of the Strip. The northern side of the Strip then will be stripped of Hamas, and I don't know, according to President Trump's plan, they're going to be building hotels there.
This show will be 25 years old on July 10. You've been a regular and a much appreciated guest for at least half that period of time. However, in almost every interview, you've pointed out that Hezbollah had 150,000 rockets with which they could rain terror down on Israel. I'd like to know your assessment of Hezbollah now after not just the beepers and the pagers and the war, but after Iran collapses and Syria collapses. Does Israel have a threat on the northern front anymore?
Okay, well, here's the regional answer before I get to the specific answer. And that is, Israel has defeated Hamas militarily. It has defeated Hamas strategically. Israel has defeated Hezbollah militarily. It has defeated Hamas strategically. We have to make that distinction. What does it mean? Hamas, as I mentioned earlier, may have 30,000 terrorists under arms. Hezbollah may have 80,000 terrorists under arms, maybe more. It still has a large share of its missile capability. If it wanted to, if it could, it would open fire again on Israel. But what does it mean to have it? So the military victory hasn't been complete, but the strategic victory has been complete because neither Hamas nor Hezbollah pose a serious threat to Israel anymore. So that's a huge victory. Similarly, we have won a military victory against Iran. Iran remains a military threat. We didn't destroy Iran. We didn't destroy Iran's leadership. We didn't destroy Iran's military. We heard it. The question is, will Iran too be a strategic victory for Israel and the United States and the West? If so, listen carefully, then our victory over both Hezbollah and Hamas will continue to be both military and strategic. If
that
Iran,
makes
again,
sense
I'm
to
going to
me.
repeat myself earlier, if Iran is allowed to regroup, to rebuild, then it will refinance and it will once again make Hezbollah what it was before last year, Hamas before October 7th. It may take time because they think in terms, I said earlier, they don't think in terms of weeks and months, they think in terms of decades. It may take time. The whole key lies in translating our military victory over Iran into a permanent strategic victory.
So, very last question, Dr. Oren. Are there forces in Lebanon allied with Israel to keep the boot on Hezbollah's neck?
Yes, definitely. I think that people in Lebanon would very much like the peace with us. Can you imagine what Lebanese-Israel peace would do for this region? Oh boy, what a
Yep.
It's our ancient allies. King Hiram provided the cedars of Lebanon for Solomon's temple. We go way back, and Lebanese and Israelis traditionally had a very good relationship. It wasn't well before 1948. We always had a very good relationship with a strong Jewish community there. So there's no historic animosity between our peoples, and certainly we're both Western looking in so many ways. So there's a lot to build on there. With Syria too, it'd be very interesting. Extraordinary, transformative for the entire Middle East. During the break, we were saying that this is the most significant event to occur in decades in international relations, certainly in regional relations. I wrote a book some years ago. We can plug it. It's now available at famously reduced prices called 6 Days of War. The subtitle was June 1967 and the Making of the Modern Middle East. And the thesis of the book was you couldn't understand the making of the modern Middle East without understanding those 6 days. Well, you're not going to be able to understand the 21st century Middle East unless you understand this war, which is utterly transformative and can be truly, truly permanent if America and Israel continue to stand shoulder to shoulder and prevent Iran from reemerging as a regional threat.
We hear it, we agree, and I appreciate the extra time, Dr. Oren. Thank you so much for your time today. Follow him on X at Dr. Michael Oren. I'm pretty sure this is Senator Cotton's favorite week of the year. It's Votorama week, and he joins us, the senator from Arkansas, who's chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee and the Republican Conference. I don't know where he is. He might be lying down to catch some winks. How goes the Votorama, Senator?
Well, they're voting inside the Capitol right now, Hugh, but I just cast my vote so I could step out and speak to you and all of your listeners who I know are excited to see this bill pass. It will be the largest tax cut in American history for working Americans. It's going to help rebuild our military, secure our border, unleash American energy production, and so much more. And the Democrats are consistently voting against every one of those things.
Now, the markets look like they're optimistic, Senator Cotton. Are you optimistic about the final vote on the Senate's version of the One Big Beautiful Bill?
I am, Hugh. And of course, once we pass the bill in the Senate, we'll have to send it back to the House to pass as well, before it passes for the president. But I think every Republican in Congress knows that this is a no-fail operation, and it has been since the election last year. We cannot allow the largest tax hike in American history to go into effect. And we have to continue the great success we've already had, for instance, in securing our border since President Trump took office. And we need to rebuild our military after 4 years of devastating cuts by Joe Biden. So we still have some differences we're working through. You know, senators and congressmen represent different kind of states and different kind of districts, but we're all aligned on those priorities. Now it's just a matter of finding the final path to them.
Now, Senator, it's been 10 days since Donald Trump ordered the B-2s to strike Iran. And so we've had a lot of BDAs that are public and private. What can you tell us publicly about your assessment of the damage done to Iran by the Israeli war and the American strike?
Well, Hugh, let's use a little bit of common sense. What does anyone think happens when you drop 12, 30,000-pound bombs? Anything. And I want to stress, because the media and the Democrats, who seem more eager to root for the survival of Iran's nuclear weapon program than to celebrate a successful mission by great American pilots and crews, always are asking questions like, well, what happened inside the underground bunker at Fort O? And did it really destroy the bunker? And what happened to the uranium? Well, let's be clear, Hugh. There are multiple single points of failure in Iran's nuclear weapons program. And it wasn't just the great mission that our pilots and crews undertook. It was what the United States and Israel did in conjunction that has catastrophically damaged Iran's nuclear program and set back their ambitions. The killing of the nuclear scientists. Yes, the bombing of the bunkers and the facilities at Fort O and Isfahan and Natanz. The destruction of centrifuges and centrifuge manufacturing sites, the destruction of uranium gas to metal conversion facilities. All these things are single points of failure in Iran's march to a nuclear weapon, and the United States and Israel together destroyed them all. And that's why the Ayatollahs sued for peace. That's why they shot a few missiles at an empty base and told us in advance, knowing that we would shoot them all down, because they wanted it to end. So I think our operation was just smashing success, and Israel's 12 days of strikes on Iran was a smashing success.
Senator, I don't think you're old enough to remember. I don't think you're old enough to remember Tommy Flanagan, John Lovitz's character. Yeah, that's the ticket. Now we've got a couple of Iranians talking to each other on the phone saying, nothing's wrong here, everything's good. And the New York Times turns that into a story. I really sometimes cannot believe legacy media's desire for us to fail, even when it is obvious that we've succeeded.
No, like I said, they would rather root for the survival of Iran's nuclear program than they would celebrate the successful mission of our great pilots and crews. I've seen those reports, Hugh. I'm not going to comment on classified intelligence that shouldn't be leaked, other than to say there should be an investigation into that leak as well. But I will make a few common sense observations that anyone could make after having read that media report. One, to do any real actual assessment, you would have to go into those bunkers at Fort O and Isfahan and examine them, not just engage in some guesswork, not just use camera footage. To my knowledge, it's very hard to get into those underground bunkers, if you know what I mean, Hugh.
Yeah.
Second, it is entirely possible that you have a situation in Iran, like you must have had in Russia before Russia's invasion of Ukraine, where military or lower-ranking political officials are lying to senior officials. Vladimir Putin obviously did not get an accurate picture of what his military was capable of. And in totalitarian countries like Iran, it is very common that no one down the food chain likes to deliver bad news to the people at the top.
Do you think, Senator Cotton, that President Trump would be out there spiking the football unless he knew he could spike the football?
Again, Hugh, just look at like the inherent logic of events. The Ayatollahs sued for peace after 12, 30,000-pound bombs got dropped on their underground nuclear bunker. And Donald Trump, who has access to the best intelligence in the world, and Benjamin Netanyahu are both saying that it has been a smashing success, severely degraded Iran's nuclear ambitions. Now, again, the media can say, well, you can't account for every single ounce of uranium. The mission was not to destroy the uranium. The mission was not to seize the uranium. We can hope that happened. We can hope that it was all destroyed or buried forever in Fordow. But that is not the mission. This is not like a Mission Impossible movie where there's one single thing that the United States and Israel had to do to stop the bad guys, or there's one single thing that Iran had to protect to continue its march to a nuclear weapon. Again, even if you assume they have all of the enriched uranium, totally undamaged, readily available, what about their centrifuges? What about the centrifuge manufacturing sites? What about the spare parts for the centrifuges?
What about the scientists?
The gas conversion, the gas to metal conversion facilities, and the scientists to operate any of that stuff. Again, Hugh, that's why it was a meticulously planned campaign, the United States and Israel working in conjunction to severely set back Iran's nuclear weapons program, and it succeeded. And the free world, whatever their politics, should all be grateful that President Trump, Prime Minister Netanyahu, and the great militaries of both nations have, for the foreseeable future, rid the world of this threat.
I agree. Exit question. Do you expect the NATO members to actually get to 5%? I mean, 5 years ago, we were hoping for 2%. 5%? I'd love it, but do you expect it?
Well, it's certainly in their interest to do so, and it's not just President Trump who started pressuring them correctly in his first term. It's Joe Biden's weakness during his 4 years in office that exposed Europeans as having inadequately prepared their militaries for the predatory Russian threat. So it's both President Trump and reality intruding in Europe that makes them realize they need to substantially increase their defense spending. It's a good victory for America, too.
Senator Tom Cotton, thank you for joining us. Have a great deal of fun with the rest of Votorama. I know it's kind of like a party in the Senate and everyone enjoys it. So you go back and enjoy the next 24 hours of voting. And Godspeed. I hope you get it to the president's desk by the 4th of July. Thank you, Senator Cotton. Don't go anywhere, America. I'm coming right back. 1-800-520-1234. If you have a comment on the month that was, 1-800-520-1234. I think June 2025 is going to go down as one of the great months in American history. 1-800-520-1234. Connection to the Hugh Hewitt Show. As I told you during the break, or right before the break, the market closed strong into the end of the trading day. I think that signals that the market professionals are very confident of the one big beautiful bill, not only getting through the Senate, but getting to the president's desk this week and signed. Permanent tax relief. Big, enormous deal for the American economy. I also have a chance now to play for you the rest of my interview with Dr. Michael Oren, former Israeli ambassador to the United States. Off air, I asked him about Lebanon and what could happen there now that the threat of the 150,000 missiles has been severely degraded. Here's his response. So I'm back with Dr. Michael Oren, former ambassador to the United States from Israel. Dr. Oren, what about my Lebanese question and Hezbollah question?
Okay, well, here's the regional answer before I get to the specific answer. And that is, Israel has defeated Hamas militarily. It has defeated Hamas strategically. Israel has defeated Hezbollah militarily. It has defeated Hamas strategically. We have to make that distinction. What does it mean? Hamas, as I mentioned earlier, may have 30,000 terrorists under arms. Hezbollah may have 80,000 terrorists under arms, maybe more. It still has a large share of its missile capability. If it wanted to, if it could, it would open fire again on Israel. But what does it mean to have it? So the military victory hasn't been complete, but the strategic victory has been complete because neither Hamas nor Hezbollah pose a serious threat to Israel anymore. So that's a huge victory. Similarly, we have won a military victory against Iran. Iran remains a military threat. We didn't destroy Iran. We didn't destroy Iran's leadership. We didn't destroy Iran's military. We heard it. The question is, will Iran too be a strategic victory for Israel and the United States and the West? If so, listen carefully, then our victory over both Hezbollah and Hamas will continue to be both military and strategic. If
That makes
Iran,
sense
again, I'm
to
going to
me.
repeat myself earlier, if Iran is allowed to regroup, to rebuild, then it will refinance and it will once again make Hezbollah what it was before last year, Hamas before October 7th. It may take time because they think in terms I said earlier. They don't think in terms of weeks and months. They think in terms of decades. It may take time. The whole key lies in translating our military victory over Iran into a permanent strategic victory.
So, very last question, Dr. Oren. Are there forces in Lebanon allied with Israel to keep the boot on Hezbollah's neck?
Yes, definitely. I think that people in Lebanon would very much like the peace with us. Can you imagine what Lebanese-Israel peace would do for this region? Oh boy, what a
Yep.
It's our ancient allies. King Hiram provided the cedars of Lebanon for Solomon's temple. We go way back, and Lebanese and Israelis traditionally had a very good relationship. It wasn't well before 1948. We always had a very good relationship with a strong Jewish community there. So there's no historic animosity between our peoples, and certainly we're both Western looking in so many ways. So there's a lot to build on there. With Syria too, it'd be very interesting. Extraordinary, transformative for the entire Middle East. During the break, we were saying that this is the most significant event to occur in decades in international relations, certainly in regional relations. I wrote a book some years ago. We can plug it. It's now available at famously reduced prices called 6 Days of War. The subtitle was June 1967 and the Making of the Modern Middle East. And the thesis of the book was you couldn't understand the making of the modern Middle East without understanding those 6 days. Well, you're not going to be able to understand the 21st century Middle East unless you understand this war, which is utterly transformative and can be truly, truly permanent if America and Israel continue to stand shoulder to shoulder and prevent Iran from reemerging as a regional threat.
We hear it, we agree, and I appreciate the extra time, Dr. Oren. Thank you so much for your time today. Follow him on X at Dr. Michael Oren. What a great guest he's been for 25 years. I think it's 25 years. The show's 25th anniversary is coming up on July 10. Hope you're here to celebrate with us, but I just want to thank Dr. Oren. I also want to ask you, in anticipation of that, please go to my YouTube page, like and subscribe. Trying to get to 100,000. Like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Just go to Hugh Hewitt, like and subscribe. Kevin in Minneapolis, you got 30 seconds, Kevin.
It's not going to matter what a great month he had if 8 to 10 years from now we've doubled the debt again and the dollar's worthless and we're doing 700% inflation. I'm so sick and tired of Republicans adding trillions of dollars a year to the debt, and everybody's just great with it.
Well, I'm not great with it, but I also happen to think the first thing you got to do to fix the debt problem is make the tax cuts permanent in order people to invest in this country and grow the economy. A 2% GDP will never get us out of this hole. A 4% GDP will. Hey, Kevin, thank you for listening on AM 1280 The Patriot. Vic Mattis joins me. Now, Vic, of course, is co-host of the Getting Hammered podcast, but I've been told I've been getting zapped by my Gen Z friends, Vic, that I have not updated my X post, my description. So I got to do that. Yours says art and culture editor of the Free Beacon, host of Getting Hammered, Weekly Standard alum, author of Vodka. Is that still accurate?
That is still accurate. Nothing has changed from that, Hugh. It's it's who I am. It's who I've always been.
Why isn't New Jersey expert on there? Because I think
Yes.
we're going to need some New Jersey experts coming up in the next few months, given the governor's race up there.
Yes, that's right. I really need to add that to my areas of expertise as I've been following that race carefully. I mean, 4 years ago, it came really close. The state came really close. If the Republicans paid more attention back then to Jack Citarelli, I think that would have put him over the top. Nobody actually likes Governor Phil Murphy, and that was the moment. The question is, how does he shape up, or how does he look compared with Mikey Sherrill, who is the Democratic, as you know, candidate for governor versus Murphy? That's the question, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be a tough race.
Now, Vic, I have to make a confession. I don't know anything about New Jersey politics because I long ago figured out that when the running joke is, how do you know when the mob's having a recession, is that they begin to lay off the judges in New Jersey? Then I really don't know anything about New Jersey. What do I need to know about this governor's race? What are they fighting it over?
Well, the first thing is, the power has always resided, not so much at the traditional, political levels that we understand it in many states, and obviously at the federal level. It's all about the county bosses, and from that level, we're talking about the townships, and they're the ones who have a lot of pull as to who gets their names on the ballot, what position that goes into. Governor Murphy had changed that with some ballot reform, and I think that helped Mickey Sherrill tremendously take the lead. And obviously, it's going to be her versus again Jack Ciattarelli. There are a lot of concerns. People are looking towards. They're thinking about Trump's election in 2024 and how that reshaped the political landscape in New Jersey. Very much so. Much of the state, if you look at it, had voted for Trump. He came very close. It's probably the closest a Republican has come to winning the Garden State since 1988, which is kind of sad because that's the last time that a president has won at that level. And obviously, Chris Christie won more recently. But you're looking at a lot of counties in the north, for example, in Bergen, Union, Essex, that have traditionally voted for Democrats that went for Trump. And the question is, if they go for Trump in 2025, will they then go for Jack Ciattarelli? And I think a lot of it is going, obviously it helps the party out of power. They say that about New Jersey. They say that about Virginia and other states. Obviously, in the midterms, should be beneficial to the party out of power. That said, if you're in New Jersey, you're in the tri-state area, you're going to get flooded with ads about Zoran Mamdani, and I think that's enough.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, it's going to be enough to scare a lot of people, particularly in the north. In North Jersey, into wanting to vote for Jack Ciattarelli because they're going to say they want none of that. Obviously, the shore, when you think about Monmouth County all the way down to Cape May, that's going to be reliably red. That's Jack Ciattarelli country. And then way up north, if you're thinking about where Morristown and Vernon, New Jersey is, that's also probably going to be reliably red. But the urban areas, that's where it matters. And they are going to get flooded with ads about the socialist running for mayor. And the question is, do you want any of that in your state?
Now, I want to ask you a compare and contrast question. On Friday, the Supreme Court smacked down Montgomery County Public Schools for attempting to jam down trans ideology on pre-K through third graders. And Montgomery County, for whatever reason, dug in their heels, and they really hate religion there. Do the northern counties or the Manhattan-adjacent counties of New Jersey, are they that crazy? Are they like Montgomery County?
It's getting up there. I mean, you've seen these studies that have been done, Hugh, about the number of teens, especially girls, who in the last 4 to 8 years are now suddenly identifying as being non-binary, and that number had increased by about 400%. That is a very large number, and that tells me that this is not, your typical uptick that happens gradually over time or whatnot, but rather that this is part of some sort of cultural craze. And so parents are concerned, and Phil Murphy has taken a very hard left turn on these policies because he wants to give power to the state and the state attorney general over these counties and school boards, and telling them you can't, say that they're not allowed to teach these things or to give these books out. Montgomery County, though, is very extreme, And I was very pleased to see that it went in that direction for that case. It was a coalition of Orthodox Jews, Catholics, and Muslims, all saying enough is enough. That parents have some say when it becomes, offensive to their faiths. And I know that Justice Sotomayor was saying, well, it's a slippery slope. Then where does it end? But I think in her world, there are no limits. I mean, again, as one of the other justices on the conservative side pointed out, you can go so far as to, force little kids to read about, atheists making fun of their own faiths. And that's
Justice Alito's opinion is a masterpiece. But what I'm wondering about New Jersey, the New Jersey side, are they having the same sort of Loudon effect that Glenn Youngkin ran on 4 years ago? Is that happening in Jersey?
No, I haven't seen it to that extent, and I wish it would be more pronounced because, that was a turning point, as you remember, in New Jersey where, the parents were at these meetings and then they were at, the people running the meetings were trying to get the FBI involved and saying, monitor these people. They're threats to democracy and they're basically domestic terrorists, and it was ridiculous. I haven't seen that much happening in New Jersey to that extent. Again, in my opinion, the person who's going to win outright is the one who's able to come up with a real solution to lowering property taxes. They are the worst. The worst.
Amen to that. A Prop 13 for New Jersey. Victorino Mattis on X. Vic Mattis can be followed on X at Victorino Mattis. You also be following the Free Beacon and Getting Hammered podcast, which he co-hosts with Mary Catherine Ham. Thank you, Vic. I'm Hugh Hewitt in the Relief Factor studio. I remind you about Relief Factor once an hour because it's been my sponsor for well over a dozen years. I take it every day. It's the only supplement I've taken for more than 20 years. Why? Because it works, because I read the science, because doctors agree that Icarian curcumin and resveratrol omega ought to be in your system, the only supplement you need. They come in 4 pills. They're easy to swallow. I take them every day, and as a result, I don't have the minor aches and pain. Occasionally, I'll throw my back out, and then I triple down on the Relief Factor, and I'm back in the game. Within a couple of weeks, and I'm already back in the game on this, I'm feeling pretty good, and that's because of Relief Factor. So give it a try, $19.95, 3-week starter pack. Call 1-800, the number 4, and the word relief, 1-800-4-RELIEF, or go to the website and find that starter pack for $19.95, less than $1 a day, at relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Now, I'm going to annoy you all week long by asking you to please go to my YouTube channel and like and subscribe to it, Hugh Hewitt, YouTube. I love that people follow me on X, but I really love for people to get the couple of interviews a day that we put up on YouTube. If you want the whole show, you can go get Highly Concentrated Hugh, and a lot of you subscribe and love Highly Concentrated Hugh, and I'm glad you do. Some of you belong to the universe, and you want to get every minute of every show every day, and you want to subtext me, and I read that all the time, and I respond to it. Some of you want it all, and you do it all. You both like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You follow me on X. You are wholly committed to the universe, and you're also getting Highly Concentrated Hugh. Some of you wake up to Highly Concentrated Hugh. More of you go and get Dwayne's World, and that's all good. But this week, I'm asking you to do 2 things. One is to like and subscribe the YouTube channel, even if you never use YouTube. All you have to do is Google Hugh Hewitt YouTube. It will pop up. Like and subscribe, and forget it. Do the same thing to Dwayne's World, please. And also, can you do that for the Commentary Podcast? I heard John Podhoretz this morning, great podcast today, with Brett Stevens and Matt Continetti and Christine Rosen and Abe. And John began by saying they would like to get to 15,000 subscribers because that has an impact on the algorithm, which spreads it further. That's true about 90,000. So I can pick up 1,000 today. That would be great. But the magic number is 100,000. And so I'd really encourage you both like and subscribe Commentary, like and subscribe Dwayne's World. But really, truly, honestly, go and do it during the break. Like and subscribe to the Hugh Hewitt channel on YouTube because it amplifies the content that you like. So think of it as part of the effort to make the country, if not a permanent red majority, pretty doggone close, because we cannot have the Mamdani Democrats running this country. The Mamdani Democrats are a menace. And so we have to support everyone to the right of the Mamdani Democrats. And that's pretty much every Republican. So go like and subscribe to Hugh Hewitt on YouTube, to Commentary on YouTube, to Getting Hammered on YouTube, to Twain's World on YouTube. Like and subscribe to National Review on YouTube. Get in the game and promote the people, to promote the ideas that keep our 4th of July so great. The Hill reports, as of 12 minutes ago, Republicans are feeling pretty good about the one big beautiful bill coming for a vote sometime tonight or in the wee hours of the morning, whenever the Democrats get tired of offering amendments. One of the deals about a reconciliation bill is that the party that is in the out gets an unlimited opportunity to offer amendments. So they start out very strong. Republicans do this too when they're in the minority. They start out very strong, trying to make votes that embarrass the other party. And after a while, they get done and they realize that no one's embarrassed and the other side's going to do it. And all that matters really is getting 50 of the 53 Republican senators to vote for it and then getting it back to the House and having them vote for it. Then they can pick up a second reconciliation process immediately. So there's no reason for the Republican not to vote and get the economy going. Now, the market closed up going into the close today by 0.5% on all the indices. And I think that is just the best thing in the world in terms of an indication of the progress. Now, I want to give you a chance to chime in, 1-800-520-1234. What do you think about the one big beautiful bill? 1-800-520-1234. But I'm reminding everybody in every hour all week long, I have a goal. I want to get to 100,000 followers on my YouTube channel. That's different. I get millions of people every day listening. Why do I care about YouTube? Because I do interviews like with Michael Oren and Tom Cotton that I would like to propagate across the web, have them show up in people's timelines. That only happens when you hit the magic 6 figures on YouTube. Then it just begins to go places I never imagined before. And it goes there at all hours of the night, not just when I'm on. So I appreciate you listening. I love that you're watching the Salem News Channel. I love that you're listening on one of our affiliates on your drive home, whether you're in Washington, D.C., or you're on your lunch hour, delayed lunch hour in L.A., wherever you are in this country. Thank you for listening or watching. But also, please do go to YouTube, like and subscribe to the Hugh Hewitt YouTube channel. John in Barrington, Illinois, 1-800-520-1234. Hi, John.
Hello, Hugh. I wanted to call your attention back to, remember at the start of Clinton, the first big tax change they made was to give the highly compensated people without salary income a tax break. And when the Republicans got in charge of Congress, they had to come back and even that out. You remember that?
I don't. That's
So
1993.
The Democrats.
I'm good, but I'm not that good.
The Democrats put in a thing that only affected Hollywood people that had non-salary income. So they got a tax break, and then the Republicans had to come back and fix that and make it so that other highly compensated people with salary income were at the same tax level. That happened in 96, I think. So I see the no tax on tips kind of the same type of thing in reverse. You know, I'm a independent contractor, and I'm in a job where you cannot get tips, or it would be unethical because I'm a sports official. So
now let's think about that. If you're working for Ohio State, it's okay.
I'm on the phone.
What kind of sport do you officiate?
Soccer.
Well, no one's going to tip you no matter what you do, because nobody believes you guys have any clue what you're doing. You know that, right? You make up time at the end of the game. Yeah. No one's going to. So how do you feel about, just because you don't get tipped, no one should get tipped without being taxed?
Well, no, I'm just saying, I mean, number one, like with all of the tax changes like this, now you're going to get a lot more income reclassified as tips, right?
Yes.
So are we doing anything to make sure that, they have to have do they have to get out of, say, the poverty level with income before they get no tax on tips?
There are. I don't know what they are. There are some conditions on the tip stuff. It's intended to be a blue-collar assist, a waitress, a bartender, HVAC operator, an Amazon delivery guy, an Uber delivery guy, the pizza delivery guy. You know, there are some people who really do need those tips, I assume.
Yeah,
Dwayne used to
there
get
are.
tips as being a baseball umpire. I don't know if you knew that. Dwayne always took money.
And there are some tip earners who are highly, at high-end restaurants, they might be up to six figures, and a lot of that's tip income. So
I don't know that. I do believe there's a limit. I will go and check on that for you, John. But you've got a good point. Some people can't make tips, but I do think the majority of people who do make tips are not making six figures. I really believe that.
No, I agree.
Yeah, and so a little bit. It's like the Social Security no tax. That doesn't apply to big Social Security recipients. People who made a lot of money in their life, they're not getting a break. It's for people who are living close to the edge, and I approve of that. I applaud of that. John, thank you for the call. Hey, Generalissimo, I got a question. Is Dwayne still there, or did he begin his vacation already? Okay, so Dwayne, when did you stop taking tips as an umpire?
Stop taking what?
Tips.
I don't take tips as umpires.
I know, but when did you stop?
I never did take tips as umpires.
Oh, that's a convenient thing. Did you not listen to our last caller?
No, because I was doing IT nonsense.
Well, you missed a good caller. He's upset that he can't get tips as a soccer official, and therefore he can't benefit from the no tax on tips. I said never stopped you.
You know the whole point of bribing officials is problematic, right?
Well, not in Little League.
Yeah, actually kind of is.
Nah, I've seen it happen. Dwayne used to do that all the time. I'm pretty sure. Given some of the calls you made, you had to have been taking money.
How many games did you see me do?
A lot. I got to go back. I got to play Donald Trump talking to Maria Bartiromo yesterday. Cut number 15, please.
It's very important. I'm a cheerleader also for the country, aside from everything else, like you are. We brought spirit back. We brought respect and dignity back. When I went to the European, I was in that beautiful place with the king and the queen, and it was like beautiful. Everything's so nice. But when I went to the Netherlands and I looked, everybody was coming up, Mr. President, Mr. President. They didn't do that a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. These are the big countries. This is Germany and France and all of them. A big group of countries. They respect America again. They laughed at us. They thought we were a joke. You had a president that kept falling downstairs and falling on stages and couldn't find an entrance he makes a little speech that lasted for about a half a minute, and he looks around. He's looking for stairs. There's like 6 different stairs, and he can't figure out which stair. We were laughed at all over the world. More importantly than that, what they did to the country. What they did to the country with allowing 21 million people will never be forgotten.
I hope it's never forgotten. I hope every single election for the presidency for at least 20 to 40 years, everyone is reminded that when Joe Biden and the radical left ran the country, they opened the border and 20 million people came in. The president also talked about the court decisions that came down on Friday, cut number 14 of his conversation with Maria Bartiromo.
Mr. President, tell me about the significance of the Supreme Court ruling on the nationwide injunctions. Will that help you?
It took the court system out of the presidency to a large extent. The courts were almost like being the president, and you can't have it. It was such a big decision. This is one of the biggest decisions where you would have a local federal judge who was radical left determining the policy for the whole nation, and now they can't do that anymore. They can go locally, but they can't go all over. A judge from Massachusetts can't make the policy for Oklahoma and other places throughout the nation. So this was a massive decision.
It is a massive decision. It was very big, but was also decided on Friday was the decision that a local school board run by radicals, Montgomery County Public Schools, may not impose on children, including preschoolers and kindergartners, textbooks that fundamentally attack their religious beliefs and the religious beliefs of their parents. Now, it's never even been an issue before, because in no district in the United States am I aware that human sexuality was on the table for kindergartners. I really didn't know that a school district could be as radical as Montgomery County became, or that if they wanted to become that radical, and that obviously hostile to traditional religious beliefs of all sorts. The plaintiffs in that case included Orthodox Jews, traditional Roman Catholics, observant Muslims. All these parents came together and said, Montgomery County is force feeding our children propaganda from the left about human sexuality that goes against our belief in what is right, true, good, and divine. And you know who won? Parents won, because the Supreme Court has upheld parental rights for more than a century, and they affirmed that on Friday. I'm going to talk about it with Bethany Mandel. She is the co-author of The Mom Wars on Substack. Moreover, she is a resident of Montgomery County. Now, the Montgomery County public school system took it on the chin in a 6-3 victory on Friday that was much overlooked because of the events of last week being so significant. But I was looking forward to talking to you, Bethany. Would you just describe how crazy Montgomery County public schools are and how important this decision is to you and to every other parent who lives in Montgomery County?
Yeah, so I've been covering this case for 2 years since I accidentally 2 summers ago drove by the protests outside of the Montgomery County School Board. And I was driving by in Rockville, and I pulled a Yui with my kids because I saw all these signs that said, give us the freedom to parent. And the parents did not look like the sort of stereotypical moms for liberty white women that everyone thinks we are. And so I pulled a Yui, and I pulled in and I said, what are y'all doing? Tell me about this. And very quickly, I got the scoop that they had made in Montgomery County Public Schools books about gender and sexuality, LGBTQ books mandatory in the classroom. They refused to allow parents to opt their children out. They had offered an opt-out, and then they withdrew it because, funny enough, they said that there was too many parents opting their children out. I feel like that might be a signal that maybe you should change the curriculum if too many parents are opting their children out. But that was not the signal that MCPS got. When they had too many parents opting their children out, according to them, they withdrew the ability to opt their children out. So this case went through the entire sort of Maryland process of, district court, all of those places. And eventually it wound its way up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled that forcing children to read books that are directly contradictory to their religious beliefs is a violation of their family's religious liberty, and that Montgomery County have to reinstitute the opt-out for these students. What's notable in Montgomery County is that it's used as a testing ground. Things that happen here spread nationally. And so that was why I ran for school board here, actually, because the craziness that happens here is this is the incubator, and it goes nationwide. And so this was a really important rebuke of this idea that the schools have control over children once they walk into that classroom door, and that parents have no ability to have any input onto what their children are learning, especially when it comes to gender and sexuality.
Now, I don't know what you think about it, Bethany, but I applaud Justice Alito for the detail he provided in his opinion about the books. Because like you, I have many friends who are LGBTQ+. I have friends who are married in the same gender. I have nothing against them, and I'm quite certain that my children will bring up their children with a tolerant viewpoint, but also with a pretty traditional Judeo-Christian view of intimacy outside of the marriage between a man and a woman. And what I think Justice Alito was driving at is that they were pile driving a parent's religious belief with these books. They were actually destroying coherence between the school and the home. And that should upset every American, no matter what their religious belief is or no religious belief at all. Do you think the decision got the attention it deserves, in my view?
I mean, I don't know, because I've been doing media about nothing but for the last 72 hours, because I was the first national sort of journalist to be covering this. But it was interesting. I was disappointed in Alana Kagan's decision to side with the minority, because she said rightly in oral arguments, there's an argument to be made for the fact that there are plenty of parents who would find this material objectionable who do not have religious objections to it. They just find it objectionable. I want to expand a little bit on that point you made. This is far more than just tolerance and, all of those nice little buzzwords. I want to just share with your listeners one of the books that was given to kindergartners. It was read to
Do we need to give a
kindergartners.
parental alert? Do we need to give a parental alert here?
A tiny bit, yeah, honestly.
Okay, good.
It was called Pride Puppy. And the end of the book has a glossary of words that you can go back and look in the pictures to find these words in the glossary. Here's some of those words: drag king, drag queen, high heels, lip ring, lace, and leather. That's a book for kindergartners. And that's the word search for the pictures that are in that book. Alana Kagan was right. There are a lot of parents who do not hold religious objections to this lifestyle, who don't really want their 5 and 6 year old searching through a book for things like drag king, drag queen, leather, lip ring. I mean, the list went on. It's an extensive list of words in the back of this word search. So much so that actually Montgomery County decided to pull this book out of their curriculum because they had so many objections, but it was in there.
So I'm curious, when you have as many parents as objected, what is it about the Montgomery County School Board that made them dug in their heel? Was this a teacher union deal? Was it a left-wing elected board deal? Because this was constitutional suicide. I mean, it really was dead on arrival from the moment it got to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. And the school board spent upwards of $2 million to bring this case to the Supreme Court of my tax dollars, and money that should have been spent, making sure that more than half of the county's school kids can read and write on grade level, which they currently cannot. So I don't really understand. I spoke to lots of folks who were insiders in the school board, teachers, principals, and principals came out against this. They said rightfully that they had been hearing from a lot of teachers that this created an antagonistic relationship between teachers and parents and principals. It just, they viewed it as unnecessarily antagonistic. I spoke to one of the plaintiffs on the case, and she shared with me that she had her child with special needs, and she had a really open dialogue with her kids' teachers up until this point. And when this opt-out was removed, she said it was, and I'm quoting her, she said it felt like a wall went down, and all of a sudden she just could not dialogue with her kids' teachers anymore, and it totally evaporated the trust. And so I think that particular teacher was probably an activist, but for a lot of teachers and a lot of principals, they did not want this. This was not a fight that they signed on for. And one of the school board members in a meeting said, "Where exactly is this coming from?" And she was like, "Shh," by all the other folks because she was on camera and on mic. But it's never been clear where this came from. My belief is that it was the school board. They had meetings about this nonstop. I mean, this was such a disservice to students for so many reasons, but one of them was it took up all the attention of the school board for over a year. And at one of the meetings, they actually locked the meeting, and they prevented activists, journalists like myself and like Matt Foldy, another journalist who he was at the Spectator at the time, from entering the school board meeting. And in addition, they blocked me on Twitter. There was an MCPS Pride Twitter account, and they blocked me because they didn't want me covering it. And we just won a lawsuit. America's First Legal represented us, and
of course
MCPS
you would.
settled.
They
with
can't do
Matt
that.
Foldy
It's
and
the
I.
government.
And MCPS settled with us for 6 figures.
I just think they ought to fire whoever their general counsel is. There's got to be a law firm that is advising the Montgomery County Public Schools, and that law firm or that lawyer should be fired because they've wasted all that money and they've lost another lawsuit. And you, Bethany Mandel, are a hero. Keep fighting. Bethany Shondark on X, The Mom Wars at Substack, themomwars.substack.com, themomwars.substack.com. I'll be right back, America. Thank you, Bethany. You might be asking yourself, what is that song? You might be saying to yourself, if you're a little bit older, why is Hugh Hewitt playing Crimson and Clover by Tommy James and the Shondells on this June 30th, 2025, given that I think it came out in 1964? And the answer is simply that during the break, one of my high school buddies, Keelan by name, I won't go any further, sent me a note, and our friends on the high school list, that Tommy James and the Shondells are playing at the Robbins Theater in Warren, Ohio on December the 6th. And so during the break, I, of course, always working on your behalf. The fact is, Tommy James is 78 years old, and they are touring a lot. I mean, they are doing 20 gigs this year, from Vegas to Warren to New Jersey. They're on the road a lot. And I'm here to say, my hat is off to you, Mr. Tommy James and the Shondells. And I think they had 2 hits. Generalissimo, I never played with him. I just be honest with you. I never sat down and sat in with Tom. I just never did it. But did you ever get a request when your DJing days to play Tommy James and the Shondells?
No.
Okay, so my friend Keelan writes, one of my top 10 all-time songs. And I would bet she may be the only person not financially connected with the group who would make that statement. What do you think?
Crimson and Clover?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it just is not on anybody's top 10 list ever.
No.
Right?
No.
Except Keelan.
Maybe,
so,
yes.
And she went to Notre Dame, so that explains a lot.
It may be sacrilegious to say, but Joan Jett's cover version was actually even better.
Can I hear it?
Yeah, probably. If Adam
I didn't know that Joni Jett did. Is she alive?
She's still alive.
Oh, that is better.
Yeah, it is. That's why I said it. It's much better.
Is she still touring?
I'm sure she is.
If she and Tommy James toured together, would you buy a ticket?
No.
No, neither would I. I'm just wondering about that. Okay, just making sure that. Let's get back to what will be the gift that keeps on giving for the next many months. The nomination of Zoran Mamdani to be mayor of New York. Now, it may be the gift that keeps on giving for 4 years, but Escape from New York is a movie. It's not supposed to be a reality TV show. But this is pretty threatening to the future of the Big Apple. Here is Zoran Mamdani, cut number 17.
What the purpose is about this entire project, it's not simply to raise class consciousness, but to win socialism. And obviously raising class consciousness is a critical part of that. But making sure that we have candidates that both understand that and are willing to put that forward at every which moment that they have, at every which opportunity that they're given. We have to continue to elect more socialists. And we have to ensure that we are unapologetic about our socialism. There are also other issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS, right, or whether it's the end goal of ceasing the means of production, where we do not have the same level of support at this very moment. And what I want to say is that it is critical the way that we organize.
BDS stands for boycott, divest, and something else. I can't remember what. It's anti-Israel, and he's an anti-Semite. I said so on Hannity on Friday night. I stand by it. All the evidence suggests that. It is an opinion of mine, and I believe it can be defended that anyone who says what he said, including this part, cut number 16.
My father, his family comes from Gujarat in India, and his family is Muslim, I'm Muslim. And Narendra Modi helped to orchestrate what was a mass slaughter of Muslims in Gujarat to the extent that we don't even believe there are Gujarati Muslims anymore. And when I tell someone that I am, it's a shock to them that is even the case. And this is someone who we should view in the same manner that we do Benjamin Netanyahu. This is a war criminal.
So Modi and Netanyahu are war criminals. Now, the predicate to his making that statement that there are no Muslims in that province is not true. In fact, there are millions. And that's the kind of hyperbole one would expect from a trust fund baby, which he is, who is living in New York on the beneficence of his very successful mother, a Bollywood producer, and his very successful father, tenured and shared professor at Columbia. He is a Nepo baby. And he is, I'll bet you, incapable of a sustained, serious conversation, but he is welcome on this program anytime. I didn't think Kristen Walker did a very good job yet. I like Kristen, but asking a gotcha question about globalize the intifada will you condemn it is not the same as pursuing a serious conversation about Israel's right to exist and under which borders and why, and whether the 67 borders are the one that ought to remain, and what do we do about Hamas, which is pledged to the destruction of Israel. He is a radical's radical. Now, I played for you some Mr. Mamdani's quotes, and Dwayne, I'm going to ask you to keep a running list of them so we can keep our greatest hits. Because between now and November, we're going to talk a lot about the Democratic Party and its future. If they elect Zoran Mamdani in New York City, it will be a over the cliff moment for the Democrats. They've got to elect Eric Adams. And I hope Curtis Sliwa drops out. I know Curtis. I've been a colleague for a long time, good man. Eric Adams, not particularly competent, took a bunch of upgraded favors from Turkish Airlines. I never thought it was a felony anyway. But he did appoint Jessica Tisch as the police commissioner. And I can't tell you how powerful the mayor of New York is. It's a strong mayor city. He can screw up the school system. He can make all of the public schools in New York like the Montgomery County public schools. He can go on a jihad against normalcy. He is a left-wing nut, and I believe he is an anti-Semite. So, New York, just start preparing yourself to vote for Eric Adams again, and pay attention in the primary next time. I know Andrew Cuomo. A lot of you couldn't bring yourself to vote for Andrew Cuomo because he killed your mom or your dad, or your aunt or your uncle.
Grandma.
And grandma and grandpa are dead because of Andrew Cuomo. So I know that was a tough vote for some people. But that doesn't mean you need to destroy your city. And Mr. Mamdani will destroy your city. I went to live in New York in March of 1980. And after 7 months, I went in to see President Nixon down at Foley Square. And I said, I'm leaving, boss. He said, well, that's okay. You should. You got to be really poor or really rich to live here. And you're neither. Go to law school. And he sent me on my way. But it was the most miserable time. New York hit bottom 78 to 80. And then it began to climb step by step out of the deep hole. They're going to make that look like a paradise ride if Mamdani wins. Now let me go to what President Trump had to say about Mr. Mamdani to Maria Bartiromo on Sunday, cut number 11.
What did you make of the New York Democrat primary? Mamdani.
He's a communist. I think it's very bad for New York. I don't know that he's going to get in. It's inconceivable that but he's a communist, and he's a pure communist. I think he admits it, but I can't imagine it. But let's say this. If he does get in, I'm going to be president, then he's going to have to do the right thing, or they're not getting any money. He's got to do the right thing. It's shocking that I would have assumed that I used to say we will never have a socialist in this country. No, but we'll have a communist. I mean, he's a communist and going to be mayor of New York. So I was very surprised when I said, I never heard of him. I don't know who he is.
Well, he said he's going to fight ICE. He's not going to allow ICE to.
He'll be very unsuccessful.
And he said if Benjamin Netanyahu comes to New York, he's going to have him arrested.
Oh, he's a radical left lunatic.
That's a pretty good summary. Radical left lunatic. He went on and added this, cut number 12.
I can tell you this, whoever's mayor of New York is going to have to behave themselves, or the federal government is coming down very tough on them financially.
Now, we are also watching, as we get close to closeout time of the show today, the Build Back Better bill is no closer to a final vote. It's going to go late into the night. I hope by the time I come on the air tomorrow that it's been passed by the Senate and on its way to the House for a quick turnaround. Cut number 13, Donald Trump talking with Maria Bartiromo yesterday about the one big beautiful bill, cut number 13.
Cutting 1.7, let's see, we're cutting, 1.7 trillion. Think of it. I think I just saw the number a little while ago, $1.7 trillion. But we can grow our country so much more than that. And we're not going to have to do, you also have to get elected. You know, when you do cutting, you have to be a little bit careful because people don't like necessarily cutting if they get used to something. And what I want to do is do it through growth. We're going to have growth like we've never seen before.
I think, by the way, he's being very magnanimous here, and he made some news that I didn't even see until I sat down with the cut sheet. Cut number 6, Donald Trump with Maria Bartiromo yesterday.
It's like TikTok. I'm extending that, but no big deal. We have a buyer for TikTok, by the way. I think I'll need probably China approval. And I think President Xi will probably do it.
Who's the buyer?
I'll tell you in about 2 weeks.
A big technology company there.
Very, very wealthy people. It's a group of very wealthy people.
Now, if he sells TikTok, if he's successful in overseeing the sale of TikTok, I will have no problem with it. Hopefully an American company will not use it to propagandize and distort the thinking abilities of young Americans as it has. If you want to know why Mom Donnie won, look at TikTok. He won on young and dumb kids' votes who think that this is possible. And I do blame public school system for being historically illiterate with regards to socialist failure after socialist failure after socialist failure and why we don't want government-run grocery stores. But let's go on to what the president said about China, cut number 7.
You've announced an agreement with the Chinese Communist Party, where China will export the rare earth minerals.
Yeah.
What does that mean in terms of this upcoming tariff structure? You've got a pause in terms of the more steep tariffs that ends August 12th. Are you going to extend that? Are you going to keep that in place or go back to a higher tariff on China?
China's going to be paying a lot of tariffs, but we have a big deficit. They understand that. I have a great relationship with President Xi. We have to do something about the deficit because we have a big trade deficit with China. Biden let it get up to $1 trillion. Think of it, $1 trillion deficit with one country. He let them just take them over the coals. We're not going to do that. But we're doing a rare earth deal, but we're also doing, remember, we have all of the airplane parts. They can't fly their airplanes without us. So we had, some guards also. But it should have never gotten that way because...
I want to play cut number 10 as well about tariffs, what the president told Maria yesterday. Cut number 10.
Tariffs is what's bringing the companies in. We have auto companies building plants where they wouldn't have built here in 100 years. We have more investment in the United States right now than we've ever had before. Think of it. Yeah, we're up to almost $15 trillion. Look at this guy from last year. What kind of numbers they were to people leaving. They weren't coming in. Now they're coming in.
Like you said, you brought wealth back to America.
Wealth and spirit back. We have spirit.
Wealth and spirit, it's a good way to be in June. As June 30th comes to a close, I have one more segment to shorthole. This may be the best month America has had in this century. I'm thinking probably the best month we've had in this century is June of 2025. I want to remind you of 2 things before I sign off. 3 things. I want to remind you of 3 things. Number 1, June 2025 is the best month of this century. Now, it's never going to meet some of the months from 1989 to 1991 when the Cold War was won. Those were pretty good months. And when Ronald Reagan won in 1980 and in 1984, those were very good months. But this month has been extraordinary, and I hope it keeps going. Pass the one big beautiful bill, Senate. Just pass it. The perfect must not be the enemy of the good. Secondly, I want to remind you that I'm in the Relief Factor studio. I take it every day. I've been taking it for more than a dozen years now. It's the only supplement I've taken for more than 20 years. Icarian, curcumin, resveratrol, and omega. I take them every day because they support the body's anti-inflammatory system, so the minor aches and pains go away. And still hurt yourself. I did a couple weeks ago. But you get better quicker, and you get over strains and aches and pains a lot quicker when you've got those 4 natural supplements working with your body every single day. Call 1-800, the number 4, and the word relief. If you want to give it a try for 3 weeks, the starter pack is $19.95. That's less than $1 a day, $19.95. Or simply go to their website, relieffactor.com. Find that starter pack. It's a little square. You can't miss it. The bag looks like this when it's full. It looks like this when it's empty. I'm giving you a side version there. And you can see, not taking up a lot of room. Put it in your bathroom. Put it where you shave. Put it in where you get your coffee in the morning. Just don't forget to take it every day. Some of you who commute, put it in your car. You'll thank me for doing that. Relieffactor.com. Finally, my final appeal of today, but I'm going to repeat it all week long. Please go to my YouTube channel, like and subscribe. I also want you to do that for the Ruthless podcast and the Commentary podcast. Why? Trying to build the ecosystem of the conservative center-right side of the interwebs. And when you get to 10,000 and 15,000 and 20,000 and 50,000 and 100,000, the algorithm picks up on that and spreads interviews like the one I did with Dr. Michael Oren today, the one I did with Bethany Mandel, the one I did with Senator Tom Cotton. They get picked up and they go places, and the algorithm adjusts for it when there are 100,000 people. Like, I'm at 89,000. And I've been kind of gentling you along, but now my big push is coming along. Even if you don't use YouTube a lot, I still would love for you to like and subscribe Hugh Hewitt's channel at YouTube. All you have to do is go to just Google Hugh Hewitt YouTube. You'll go there, you'll see everything that pops up. All you have to do is hit like and subscribe. And that way, whenever we put out there'll be 3 little vignettes from today's program. Senator Cotton, Bethany Mandel, Dr. Oren. Not going to overwhelm you, only going to send you interviews, send you the good stuff. And I thank you in advance for doing that. Do it as well for the Commentary podcast. That's right, Commentary Magazine, YouTube, and Ruthless Podcast, YouTube. Although they're at 120,000, I don't even know what we're doing for them, but they own the internets, and we love that. Can't wait to hear who Smug endorses for North Carolina Senate tomorrow. I'll be listening.